who will be the champion of Tata Steel Masters. It's going to be one of these two players.
Yeah, one of these two is going to be an Indian champion no matter what. But will it be Gukesh, the world champion, or will it be Pragg? Big breakthrough for him if he can win this one. And okay, we start with a world championship opening. Tanya, Gukesh employing this type of knight f3, c4, Reti English opening hybrid in his successful campaign against Ding. And for Pragg, I was going to say, does he take up the challenge and advance in the center? Very ambitious play by both sides in this early stages.
Wow, and for Gukesh, perhaps he got that enough time in to set up his opening ideas to really decide what he wants to get into. Will that be an advantage that he'll be able to capitalize on? Pragg, that last move, getting the bishop out to c5. David, you mentioned Reti. It's a childhood favorite of Gukesh. It's the opening that he's grown up on, so he relies on that. He did at the World Championship. He relies on that for the Tata Steel Masters title as well. Both players blitzing moves out right now. Pragg stopping the advance on the queen side, forcing now Gukesh to give up the bishop pair. That knight is headed to e4.
Yeah, the white knight wanted to jump forward, attack the black queen, which has moved out for a second time. Really interesting, Tanya, to see that our poll here from our chat on Twitch and YouTube thinking that Gukesh a very slight favorite, but almost 50-50, 53% chance that Gukesh wins. I would say that makes a lot of sense. He is the world champion after all, but Pragg has a great track record when it comes to blitz and rapid, maybe balancing things out. In terms of the opening, who do you think is the happier of the two? Gukesh here playing a black opening, but with the white pieces, therefore with an extra tempo. He's allowed Pragg space, but yeah, it looks like a real fight ahead, guaranteed.
It really does, and especially with that last move. Pragg takes more space on the queen's side, stopping any pawn advances there. The bishop pair advantage is gone. Pragg still has to develop that light squared bishop. David, I think so much of it depends on the clock situation. Pragg, with his speed, he's showing that he's feeling confident about the opening outcome.
Yeah, already a 30-second time advantage for Pragg. It might not sound like too much, but this is blitz. They only gain 2-second increment after every move. So it's just this change of pace, Tanya. It's going to be about who adapts fastest, who can kind of stay quick, stay confident, stay instinctive when the clock ticks down. No time to calculate. So taking away one of Gukesh's biggest weapons, I would say. Pragg, of course, a great calculator too. But they're playing a type of opening where it's just about feel, just about improving the pieces. White's pawn about to advance now to b4, allowing en passant, which does indeed occur. And White's rook is coming. This looks a bit like what Gukesh did to defeat Ding in one of their World Championship games.
Opening up the b file, it does come at the cost of weakening that a3 pawn. David, it's bringing back memories of that World Championship game that you're talking about, and it's definitely something that Pragg has also looked at, finding ideas against the Reti, finding ideas to fight the structure. He falls back with that queen to e7 right now. The aim for black would be to try and double up on the A line to put more pressure on that a3 pawn, but will Pragg get enough time to bring the bishop out and double down on the weakness?
That is the big question. Now or never, it might be for Pragg to develop his light squared bishop before it gets tied down to the defense of this backward b7 pawn. This pawn cannot move at the moment. It needs to protect its knight, but you do need to get the rook into the game somehow. A good moment to pause for Pragg, but he's lost his time advantage. He's actually behind on the clock. Gukesh stretching there, flexing. Tanya, he looks pretty sharp, I've got to say. I doubt he's been just chilling totally for the last 3-4 hours in his hotel room. He was probably gearing up just in case he got to this moment.
It's like a second shot, right? A second life has just been handed over to you. Gukesh, after losing earlier in the morning in that game against Arjun Ergais, he probably thought all his chances are gone, especially looking at Pragg's board there. And then slowly you see you're coming to life and you get ready for this moment. You said he's looking sharp. He's got his drip on. He's got his lucky hoodie on. Pragg, he does accept the bait. He's taken a side pawn. He's about to give up a central pawn there. David, is that the idea? After grabbing on a3, trading on a3, is Gukesh really going to give up that light squared bishop to take the e5 pawn?
Yeah, just imagine everyone a rook exchange and bishop takes c6 possible in order to capture in the center. But the reason you sound hesitant there, sorry, Tanya, is because the black bishop can come out. It's been a long day. It's been a very long day. The black bishop can come out though, and white's king is not entirely safe on the back rank. Ooh, what do you make of that? Is it a risk worth taking?
We're gonna find out. Well, he simply moves away. David, was that a pawn blunder? What just happened there? This makes no sense at all. And Pragg, he leans forward. He smells blood here.
Yeah, that was definitely not intentional from Gukesh. I think he might have just forgotten a3 was hanging. I must admit, I forgot that pawn was hanging as well. But the b7 pawn is a target, so it's not one-way traffic. The rook retreats. But essentially, Gukesh is just a pawn down now. Yes, there's some pressure. Yes, he's got nice pieces, the white bishop especially, and the pressure on the b7 pawn. But Tanya, I think you're right. I think you called it. That might have just been a bit of a slip of the mind, forgetting that pawn was vulnerable.
Well, he's got an extra pawn, but it's Gukesh with the extra time on the clock. I just want to say one thing. This is only a best of two, right? This first tiebreaker. So a loss in this one for Gukesh, who's down a pawn right now, would be absolutely disastrous. Pragg, he reroutes his knight to kick that white rook away into passivity, but he still has to complete his development. As the white rook falls back, is this going to be enough compensation? I see Pragg's pieces on the back rank, not feeling very comfortable there.
Yeah, not feeling comfortable, but sometimes a pawn is worth suffering for, and the black knight now jumping out, apparently losing some of the advantage. Maybe that's because white's rook, there we go. Gukesh pins that black knight on the edge of the board now. Full compensation, but Tanya, the clock is playing a huge role. Gukesh is the quicker of the two. Pragg down around the 20-second mark. That is not great news for him, especially considering what happened last time he was down at 20 seconds in the Vincent Keimer game not too long ago.
Oh, when the queen steps in, attacking the black rook, it has only one square to fall back to. It starts looking very tricky. The makings of certain tactics and combinations in the air. I'm spotting back rank ideas, the d4 pawn being weak as well. David Gukesh, he's paused. He's calculating all these lines that exist. And I have to say, Pragnananda, I've known him for such a long time. He's a speedster. He's a speedy Gonzalez. So I'm as surprised as you to see him behind on the clock right now against Gukesh.
Yeah, Gukesh slowing down. He's gone into calculation mode, but there's not much time to calculate. The time is leveling out now. Both sides around 20 seconds. He goes for a tactic. Knight takes pawn. That was based on a counter check there if black had taken that knight. And look at this. The blue arrow appears. White has a strong move here, Tanya. Knight into b5. All sorts of pins, all sorts of chaos on the board.
He doesn't find it. He instead trades knight b5, would have given huge advantage to Gukesh. This is so much about nerves, about speed right now, David. It's beyond just the chess we're seeing for these two players. Can you even imagine the pressure they're feeling right now?
Oh, so much pressure. That is guaranteed. It's a level looking position, but look at the clock. Both sides at 10 seconds. It might just be decided by a blunder, especially while the queens are on the board like this. The white knight has been hanging for ages. Eventually it's captured. There's an exchange. Black's grabbed a pawn, but white is in. Look at those pieces, Tanya. The white's pieces have infiltrated.
And Gukesh gets the bishop to defend the pawn, but he does leave another pawn hanging on b7. c4 is weak. Is the queen side going to be completely liquidated off the board? Pragg says no. He first goes c5. He can't pick up the c4 pawn just yet. Has he made a blunder?
Rook e8 check. Deflection. Pragg blunders. He loses his rook.
Unbelievable. And we see the moves coming in. The camera, it can't keep up with it. But Gukesh has just won an entire rook. He's about to win the first tiebreaker.
Wow. There we go. It is a handshake eventually, but it's a one-move blunder by Pragg in a position where he could have pretty much forced a draw. Ambition from Pragg backfiring. Gukesh takes the first win. We will break that down in slow motion, that one-move slip, but a high-quality game, Tanya, to start this off. And Gukesh now back in the tournament, back from the brink. He has a chance to crown victory in the event.
His first tournament as world